The market was full of noise and chaos. A dangerous man known as a gangster, accompanied by armed guards, was moving from shop to shop, illegally collecting money from traders. The gangster's face showed extreme confidence and cruelty. People feared him deeply, and because of that fear, everyone paid without resistance. He stopped at each shop and took money. No one dared to speak against him. Everyone lowered their heads, pretending to be busy just to avoid eye contact. But that day, something different was about to happen. On the other side of the market stood a woman dressed simply. She did not look special or powerful at first glance. No one in the market knew who she truly was. In reality, she was IPS officer Neha Yuhani, a high-ranking police officer. She often visited poor neighborhoods in disguise to observe conditions and uncover corruption and criminal activity. The gangster shouted loudly, ordering people to bring the weekly payment. Neha quietly observed him threatening people and collecting illegal money. She secretly recorded everything on her mobile phone. She thought to herself, tomorrow, this market will not be the same. The next morning, the market looked normal again. Neha returned, pretending to be an ordinary customer buying vegetables. Outwardly, she looked calm, but inside her heart burned with anger toward the gangster. About 2 hours later, the gangster arrived again. He began his usual routine, demanding money from people. He stopped at a man selling samosas and shouted, "Where is today's payment? Give me 500 rupees. Out of fear, the samosa seller paid immediately. Then the gangster moved forward and noticed Neha standing near a vegetable stall. He pointed at her and said aggressively, "Hey, this is a new shop, I see. Everyone here pays. Bring the money." Neha replied calmly, "What money? You already took the weekly payment from this market." The gangster laughed coldly and said, "Everyone pays. If you refuse, I'll break this stall and stab you." Neha looked straight into his eyes and said firmly, "Listen carefully. I will not give you any money." The gangster laughed louder. "You talk too much. You look new here. Standing against me won't save you." Neha stayed silent, but her eyes showed anger. Suddenly, the gangster slammed his hand on the vegetable table and shouted, "Give me the money." When Neha refused again, he raised his hand and slapped her. The sound of the slap echoed across the entire market, and no one moved. No one spoke. Everyone was too afraid of the gangster. Tears filled Neha's eyes, but she said strongly, "What you did today will not be forgotten." The gangster mocked her and said, "Do whatever you want." After leaving the market, Neha went straight to the nearby police station. At the entrance, she found a police officer sitting lazily, drinking tea. He looked uninterested. He asked casually, "What do you want here?" Neha replied, "I want to file a complaint." The officer said rudely, "We don't write complaints here." Neha insisted, "This is a police station. Complaints are written here." The officer took a sip of tea and said quietly, "I told you, no complaint will be written unless you pay 500 rupees. If you don't like it, leave." Neha paused for a moment, then slowly took out 500 rupees and placed it in front of him. The officer smiled and said, "Now that you understand how things work, I'll write your complaint." "Who are you reporting?" Neha answered calmly, "The gangster who is extorting money from the market." The officer's smile faded as he said, "Did you say the gang?" Neha spoke with a calm but wounded voice. "Friend, what happened yesterday in the market was wrong. In front of everyone, Bondi slapped people, extorted money illegally, and threatened us. When I tried to file a report, I was humiliated." The officer slammed his hand on the desk and said coldly, "Watch what you say. Bondi is powerful. He has connections everywhere. This is not a TV show where you come and demand a report. What happens here is what we want." Neha looked straight into his eyes and replied quietly, "The law applies to everyone, whether they are a senior police officer or an ordinary citizen." The officer laughed mockingly. "The money was already taken. There will be no report. If you keep talking, I'll send you to jail." Without another word, Neha walked out of the police station into the noisy, crowded market. Shops were buzzing. The smell of fried snacks filled the air, but Neha's face showed anger, pain, and determination. She decided this would not end here. She took out her phone and called her brother, Minister Fikram. After several rings, he answered. "Neha, what's wrong?" "Nothing is fine," she said. "Bondi assaulted people publicly in the market. When I tried to report it, they demanded money and refused to write the report." Fikram's voice hardened. "Where are you now?" "I'm still in the market. I need your help." "Stay there," he said. "I'll come this evening." At around 5 p.m., Neha stood quietly in the market wearing simple clothes. Moments later, several vehicles arrived. From one of them stepped out Minister Fikram, walking fast, his face full of controlled anger. People in the market whispered nervously, "That man, isn't that the minister?" Neha approached him and pointed. "That's Bondi. He slapped me right there." Silence fell over the crowd. No one dared speak. Together, Neha and Fikram walked straight to the police station. Inside, chaos and noise filled the air as usual. But the moment the minister entered, everything changed. Officers rushed to stand straight. The station commander, sweating and trembling, greeted him. "Welcome, Minister. We had a difficult day." Fikram cut him off. "I'm not here for greetings. I'm here because of injustice." Neha stepped forward and said firmly, "This is the officer who refused to write my report." The officer panicked. "She's lying," he said quickly. Fikram's voice turned sharp. "Think about your future before you lie again. Write her report, now." Bondi was brought in shortly after. When questioned, He tried to defend himself. I was on duty. Vikram stared at him. On duty? Your duty is to protect citizens, not terrorize them. Bandi fell silent. Vikram turned back to the officers. If this ever happens again, I won't just remove you from your position. You'll face the law. Neha and the minister left the station together. Outside, Vikram said calmly, for now, justice has started. But this story is not over. Neha nodded, her eyes steady. She recorded a short video, left the market, and disappeared into the crowd. Meanwhile, news spread fast through the city. Later that night, Bandi confronted the minister angrily, but Vikram responded coldly. This is exactly what you deserved. Anyone who abuses power will face consequences. After that, Bandi came with the soldiers riding motorcycles. They moved through the market, confronting people publicly. The minister became aware of the situation, especially since his dignity and authority had been openly disrespected on the other side. Neha was in the market buying vegetables. At the same time, she received a phone call from a man named Arfindi that he greeted her warmly, saying it had been a long time and asking if everything was fine. Neha replied, brother, things are not okay. I need your help. Arfindi said, tell me, what kind of help do you need? Neha explained, Bandi is currently in your area. Yesterday, he assaulted people in the market. He used force and intimidation. He even collected money illegally without writing any official report. Arfindi was silent for a moment and then asked, what did you say? Neha continued, yes, even the law was ignored. He took money without documentation. I don't want anyone to lose their job unfairly, but people must be judged by the law. Arfindi replied, if you want, I can stop him immediately and suspend him from work. Neha said, no, Arfindi. Without evidence, no one should be taken to court. Tomorrow, you should be present in the market again. When Bandi comes and causes trouble, I will confront him, and you will record everything on video, so we can get clear evidence. Arfindi liked the idea and said, all right, tomorrow morning, I'll be there. The next day, early in the morning, the market was busy again. Neha was selling vegetables, wearing simple clothes and blending in like an ordinary woman. Nearby, a man dressed casually was holding a camera. That man was none other than Inspector Arfindi Sharma, and he secretly turned on the camera and started recording. About 20 minutes later, everyone heard the sound of a motorcycle. The people immediately knew it was Bandi. Bandi entered the market arrogantly, as usual. He stopped his motorcycle in the middle of the market and shouted at the soldiers, today, no one escapes. We are collecting money. He walked straight toward Neha's vegetable stall and said, all right, give me today's payment. Everyone in the market fell silent. Bandi continued, don't you understand? Do I have to explain this every time? He then threw Neha's vegetables onto the ground, scattering them across the market. Neha took a deep breath and said nothing. Bandi shouted again, why are you just standing there? He insulted her and told her to leave, saying she was not fit for this work. All this time, Arfindi was standing nearby, recording everything clearly. After Bandi left, Arfindi approached Neha and said, Neha, look at this video. Bandi demanded money, destroyed your vegetables, and abused his power. With this evidence, we can stop him. Neha watched the video and said, this must be sent to the district commissioner. Arfindi added, if you want, I can prepare the case file myself and take action against him. Neha shook her head and said, no, this fight is not yours alone. It concerns all of us. The next day, Neha and Inspector Arfindi went together to the police station. The officer in charge was sitting casually, looking at some files. When Neha entered, he looked at her and said sarcastically, why are you here today? What interesting story have you brought now? He then looked at Arfindi and asked, who is this with you? Is he your lawyer? Why did you bring him here? Arfindi tried to speak, but before he could finish, Neha raised her voice and said, this man is Inspector Arfindi Sharma. We are here to file an official complaint. The officer replied carelessly, many people come here complaining, but nothing happens. Then he turned to Arfindi and said, who are you? Why are you interfering? Are you a journalist? Angrily, the officer shouted, get out of here. Neha calmly stepped back, took out her phone, and called the governor's office. The call connected quickly. Moments later, the officer's expression changed when he heard Neha's name mentioned. Neha said firmly on the phone, I am currently at the police station. The officer and Bandi have abused their authority. Yesterday, Bandi publicly assaulted me in the market. I had clear evidence in the form of an audio recording. The governor's voice in the recording was extremely angry. He said, I am coming to the police station right now. As soon as I arrive, everyone inside the station must be ready. Justice then began to take its normal course. The governor spoke directly to Neha and said, tell me now what happened in the market. Neha replied, yesterday, Bandi slapped me in the middle of the market. When Bandi was called and questioned, he said, no, she is lying. But Neha then produced video evidence that clearly showed Bandi slapping her on the main road. In public, that moment, the governor took strict action against Bandi, and the law was applied. Our story ends here, with justice finally being served. If you like the story, don't forget to subscribe.